Hey guys, welcome back to the See the Ramadan Stories on the 3-Hour News Show now. We're still talking about supporting someone experiencing grief with Narisha Darusman, and we're going to continue that talk right now. So, Nira,
Yes.
continuing our discussion before. So
Our heavy discussion.
yeah, this is very deep. So I'm sure you've faced challenges during the meeting. So we just want to know what kind of challenges that you faced and the way you kind of approach it to making sure the meeting, the session is flowing.
Well, I don't know about challenges because, it's surprising how supportive people can be when, as you say, we're on the same boat. It's crazy, So I don't see that as any challenges. But people when they are when we validate their emotions, it feels good.
Right.
And sometimes you want it to be validated over and over again, while as a human being you need to grow, and maybe that's the challenges, if you can say it's a challenge. But I don't think that's a challenge. I mean, just people have different timeline of processing anything really, including grief. But at the end of the day, any challenges that came, I always try to approach it with empathy, because we are different.
Yeah.
Maybe for me this is okay and for them it's not. So empathy is always the answer to approach anything.
That's actually
Earlier you said that most people only need to be heard during their grief, right? But are there any tools that could help them during the process? For example, the knowledge of stages of grieving.
Right.
Can we talk about that? Because I
Sure.
believe a lot of people are still not familiar with this. Because when we understand that, it kind of helps us to navigate through the grief, right?
What do you know about the stages?
Well, I know that, of course, after we lost someone, we cannot accept it right away. So perhaps we experience or feel angry or denial, and then maybe acceptance. I don't know. That's why I would like to know from you.
So yeah, there's this thing called the 5 stages of grief. Actually, it was first published in a book, like 1969 book by the Dr. Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, if you have heard. So she is a psychiatrist, and during those times, she actually developed the stages when she was the psychiatrist for terminally ill patient. So it was developed for people who are going to die, not for the people who are grieving.
Okay.
So that was the first time the 5 stages grief was developed by her. But during the time, it was developed also for the people who was grieving, and she wrote that in her, maybe her last book in 1996, the book called On Grief and Grieving. And the stages are, the first one is denial, as you mentioned, and then the second one is, anger, and then bargaining, sadness, and then acceptance. Okay, but talking about the stages, we think that it's linear, like it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
Yeah.
while it's not. It's not. It's one is not linear. Second, we don't always go through everything. Maybe just 2, maybe 5, and maybe you go to 5 and then you go back to 1, because as we agree on, grieving is like it's a journey.
So when you've reached the acceptance stage, it is possible for you to go all the way back to anger or sadness again.
Yes, but maybe for different reasons, maybe for different reasons. Because once we are in acceptance, everything maybe is lighter. So when we're angry, maybe we're angry not as much as we did, but maybe we are for other reasons, because grief is so complex, you know.
Yeah.
Can imagine.
I don't know how to explain this, but when you lost somebody, there's this initial grief, like you're crying and you're being sad over the loss. But then there are so many other things that will come after the loss that make you feel sad again. So, you know, you can imagine the 5 stages in the initial loss and then again in the, you know, it's very complex. So going back to our community, we know that it's very challenging.
Yeah.
So, and that's why we want to create this safe space for that.
Right, right. So, Nira, now when they come to the meeting, I'm sure then you're gonna have different kinds of like that stages. You know, maybe let's say you have 20 people, then maybe some number of them still in this stage and that stage. How do you manage that? When I'm really curious about this then, because again, you're the facilitator, then you really have to be kind of like the rock.
Yeah.
Right? How do you manage?
Sometimes I cannot be the rock and I'm just gonna be honest. But yeah, I think honesty is key, but I always go back to our like terms and conditions, as I mentioned before. Like we have to respect each other. Everyone has their own timeline. So I always remind them, maybe like when they are in a good place that week, we congratulate them, you know, we are happy for them. But when they are not, then, you know, we hug them, we give them strength. So basically, we just acknowledge everything, we just validate everything. You're in a bad place, you're in a good place, and that's okay, because sometimes I'm also in a bad place. There were times I came and I couldn't speak because, you know, the waves was big at that night. Yeah.
So the key is to be honest and to have the ability to listen
Yes.
to their stories. Now, for those who may be interested, how can they reach you or the community? And could you please elaborate the process of joining the community?
It's very simple. We have our Instagram, it's grieftalk.id, and we have our schedule for the online and offline meetings, so people can just go there. And then
For free?
For free, yes.
Okay.
For free. It's a community service. And then you can just DM us and then we can, you know, send you information. Or you can DM me, myself, if you want to have like discussion, want to have a cup of tea or coffee. It's okay. Yeah.
Do you have a limitation regarding the number of participants per meeting?
For online
offline?
session, no, because it's quite manageable. But for offline, maybe we need to like make 20-ish people so that we can make sure everybody can share their stories. They have time to share their stories. Yeah.
All right, there you go, everyone. They're on Instagram, grieftalk.id, grieftalk.id.
Yes.
Find them there. Now, before we end our discussion, let's ask Nira here to answer some myths or facts about grief. That will be shown on the plasma screen right there. Okay. So let's check the first one. Myth or fact? Ignoring pain will speed up its disappearance.
Well, I hope it is fact, but it is a myth. So we can never ignore the pain. We always need to acknowledge our pain, as painful as it is.
As painful as it is.
Yeah. Because the only way through pain is to go through it.
Oh,
Through it.
I get goosebumps imagining about it.
Okay, so we're gonna go to the second one, myth or fact. It's crucial to maintain strength when experiencing a loss.
It's crucial to maintain strength. Whew.
Can I try to answer this?
Yes.
It's important to be strong in the face. Yes, because like you said earlier, we don't have a choice. The only choice is to be strong and go through the pain.
Okay.
No?
You're right, because we don't have a choice, but the thing is, I think we just need to let be. I mean, there were days when we need to be strong because we need to, you know, like doing all the logistic administration. But there are times when we need to, you know, just cry and feel our feelings because, you know, somebody significant just died. Like,
Yeah.
you don't have to be strong.
So
really.
it's a myth or fact?
I want to say it's a myth because, you know, being strong is not really an option. You just are. You know what
You
I'm
just
saying?
are.
Yes, totally understand. Okay, now
Yes.
you gotta answer the next one. Myth or fact, the lack of tears implies a lack of sadness over the loss.
Lack of tear. No, I think it's a myth.
Myth. Same here, because I
Right.
think people expresses themselves in different
very
ways.
different ways.
Yes.
Not everyone cries, yo.
Exactly.
Yep.
Yes.
True?
So I believe so.
I'm not an expert because this is more like a psychology thing, but people grieve different ways. And it's not always in terms of crying. You know, you can
Right.
be angry, you can shut down, you can be shut down, and then you can cry as well, and then maybe you can just go or whatever. So it doesn't have that like connection between the tears and the sadness. I
Right.
think.
I don't think so.
Wow, we learn a lot
Yeah.
today. Thank you
Hopefully.
so much,
No,
Nira.
thank you.
Thank you so much for
Nira.
sharing your stories, for being vulnerable in front of us, and
Yeah.
Thank you
being
for your
so
great questions.
You're so
you.
inspiring. Keep
Thank
doing what you're doing.
Yes,
and
please.
I was gonna say be strong always, but we don't have to be strong.
No, we
always.
don't.
We don't have to.
Yeah.
Yes, you're right. I was
Let
about
it
to
be.
say that too, but then I remember just now. Oh yeah, we don't have to. We don't have
So,
to.
our motto is let it be.
Yeah.
And see, the Ramadan stories will continue after the break, so please stay tuned. Do not go anywhere.